everyone, I'm Wendy, and on today's special episode, I'm going to show you step by step how to make these adorable and super functional pantry labels using your small but mighty Cricut Joy. I used to be called that. Thank you to Cricut for sponsoring this video, and if you want to see the completed reveal of my kitchen makeover and pantry organization, I'll have that video somewhere somehow. So here's our small and not so mighty pantry, and it stayed pretty organized when I first did it, but I used Dollar Tree bins and containers, and it started getting out of hand when my household teammates would put the groceries away. But hey, at least they're putting the groceries away. And I made these labels from one of those electronic tape labelers, so they were functional but not very cute. And I would like to point out that the top bin with the handle right there says spaghetti sauce, and you can see a spaghetti sauce jar sitting right in front of it. So this is why I needed a less complicated system with larger labels and some team players on board. So this is the Cricut Joy, and it's so small and petite. It's got the easiest directions I've ever seen in my life. There's just 3 simple steps with pictures, so you really cannot mess this up. And I'll go over how to set it up on your computer in just a second. If you want to skip forward, you totally can. I've got the numbers down below. It comes with the sweetest little cutting mat, a black fine point pen that we'll be using, but you can also purchase the big 12-pack, and it has different colors to choose from. Today I'll be using a roll of Cricut Joy Smart Label Writable vinyl. It comes already cut down to Joy size, and I'm also going to be using these 12-inch sheets of Smart Label Writable adhesive paper. So as I'm making this video, I literally just opened the box up and am using my Joy for the very first time. So I'm learning this right along with you. And if I can do it, you guys, I'm telling you, you can do it too. Now, step 1 is to go to Cricut.com/setup. You can use your phone, your iPad, laptop, or computer. And once it comes up, you'll see Cricut is very glad you're here. And we're going to hit Cutting Machines and then choose the Cricut Joy. Now, I already have Design Space on my computer, but if this is your first time installing a Cricut cutting machine, this is where you'll download Design Space. And so if you've already got it downloaded, you'll just hit Open App. And then after you agree to the terms of use, it will pop up. So now we're on Design Space, and we'll click Smart Cutting Machine again, and then choose the Joy. And it tells you to place it away from obstacles, plug it in, and then connect Bluetooth. And that just happens magically. I don't know how, but anyway, again, agree to the terms and activate, and success. Then you can test a cut by picking an image. It shows you how to install the blade, but it comes already in there. And then it shows you how to load the vinyl or the paper. I mean, it's so easy. You seriously cannot mess this up. So now I'm going to show you how to make a ready-made label. And Design Space offers 70-11 options. I'm first going to let them know I only want options that work on my Cricut Joy. And then I'm going to go in and pull up my projects, because I already picked some really cute ones, and I saved them to my canvas in case I ever want to use them instead of searching for them again, and I'll have them handy. So I clicked on images over on the left and typed in labels, and I want cut and draw options only. So once you find one you like, because they're already made and you can't change them, if you hit the little 3 dots in the upper right hand corner, you can see it says view image sets, and it'll bring up the whole set, and you can use these since they're not editable. But that's just a way of pulling them all up at the same time to make sure that they work for you, and that took me forever to figure out. So sometimes you want to put your own tags on certain things, so that'll require being able to edit your label. So if you just search editable labels, that's hard to say, editable labels, you get a whole bunch again, but now we can make them say whatever we want. So I'm just going to add this little guy to my canvas, and I'm able to make it whatever size I need for my project. If you make it larger by dragging a corner, it'll just keep its ratio so it's the same rectangle as you started with, but just bigger, or square or whatever. But if you need it to be skinnier or longer, you can just unlock the little padlock over the dimensions and then drag it to whatever size and ratio you need for your project. Now we're going to add some text by hitting the text icon on the left side. Type in whatever you want and move it to your label. Now we have to change the font because we're going to be using our pen. So I'll use the drop down box to see what's available. And you can use a font that's meant for cutting, but the pen will only draw the outline of the font unless it's an actual writing font meant for the pen. And you could fill it in with your pen or change the color or do whatever you want, but it will only do the outside of the letters. So if you want to filter out the cutting fonts, click on Writing in the drop-down filter box, and then you'll get one that writes it. And these are obviously going to be skinnier, but I think it's really cute and very popular these days. Now over on the right-hand side, I'm going to hide all of my other labels by hitting the eyeballs, and that's just going to put them in the background, but they're still there. We're just not making them right now. Then I'm going to click and drag a box around my completed label, and at the top right, I'll click group so that it stays stuck together on my canvas, and then finally at the bottom I'll hit attach so it knows to do all of these operations on top of each other. So once you hit make it, a box is going to pop up saying that the project is incompatible, and there's also a yellow triangle next to it saying something's wrong. So I want to show you the backdoor handshake of how to fix this. So all you have to do is go to the upper left where it says operation and hit multiple. Choose pen, and then on the question mark, choose a color. And the color totally doesn't matter at all, but it just wants to be told to draw all of the lines and cut out around the label itself. And then it'll ask you if you're using a matte or Smart Materials, which has the matte already on the backing sheet there. And then you'll continue on. I'm going to be showing you the next steps when we do our own labels, so you only need to see that one time. Now I'm going to show you how to design your own label from scratch, and I really like this square pre-made label, but it's not editable, so I'm going to use it as inspiration and make my own. So I hit the shapes icon and got a square, made it approximately the same size, and then I'll change the color to white so we can see what we're doing. And then I want to draw the outline border that's on the original one. So you can do that a couple of different ways. You can make another box and size it to be just a little bit smaller than the original box that we're going to be cutting. Again, make it white so we can see what's happening. But right now that's set to make another cut. So we need to tell it that we'll be using a pen and not the blade. The other way that you can get that line is to hit the offset drop down and tell it that you want angled corners, and you can go inside your cut or outside your cut, whatever you want to do, dragging it along that line. Again, you have to tell it to draw it, but this feature is super helpful if you're doing a more intricate shape like a flower or animal. It'll go right along the entire border of whatever your shape is. Okay, so now we're going to add text by getting our text box and choosing the writing font that we want. And this one that I'm going to be using is called the Container Store. And I love how small and dainty the inspiration label is, but I need to actually see what's in my bins. So now I want to add that line that's in between the two pieces, and I'll go to my shapes icon again and click the line, and you can tilt it and resize it, dragging the ends of the boxes. And if you hover over one of the boxes, you'll get like a crooked or a 90-degree angled arrow, and that will make it tilt so you can move it up and down horizontally or vertically. And if you ever mess up, you just hit that back arrow at the top as many times as you need to fix something, which is extremely helpful. And as you can see, my line is showing as a dotted line, and that's just letting me know it's going to cut it, so we just need to go back and tell it to draw. Then I want the teeny tiny writing at the bottom of my label, so I'm using the writing version of Cricut Sans for the font, and I'm typing it out with my cap locks on so that it looks a lot like the inspiration. and I typed in grains and then shrunk it down to make it cutie patootie and still legible. And then once you've got it how you want it, you'll drag that same box around it and hit group so that it stays all stuck together. Get your yellow warning triangles all fixed and then hit attach. But I want to show you what happens if you hit make it without attaching it first. You can see here it's all just a bunch of scrambled eggs and each operation is separated. So we'll cancel and go back, highlight our label and hit attach. Now it's all together. Then once I have my first one completely right, I'm going to hit duplicate so all of my measurements and operations are already in place. And then I'll ungroup my new label so that I can change just the wording, and I'll resize and move those to where they look the best, regroup and attach and check it to make sure it's right. So for these labels, I'm using the 12-inch sheets of Writable Smart Label, and these have the mats built into the backing sheet so you don't have to use a sticky mat behind it. So I've got all of my labels made, and now I'm going to tell it what I'm using, and over to the left I click no mat, and I'll tell it we're using a 12-inch sheet. If you're using a roll, you don't have to change it, but I'll show you that one next. So we'll hit continue, and then we'll tell it what material we're using, in this case Smart Label Writable paper. Then it tells you to put your pen in and your paper. So I just open the clip, drop in the pen, and then close the clip up, and then I place my sheet near the rollers, and a sensor will automatically feed it and measure it, and then just hit go and you're off to the races. And it's so fun to watch too. So it'll get all of the writing on there and the outline, and then once that's done, it tells you it's time for your blade. So open up the clip, pull out the pen, drop your blade in and close it back up, hit go, and it cuts out your labels perfectly perfect. And everything has pictures and illustrations, so if you don't understand what it's saying, just look at the pictures and it makes it pretty clear. Now I have a bin for our dog Lola's treats, and the Container Store font doesn't do apostrophes, so I just took my Cricut pen and drew that in. And I have a little bit of paper left over on the sides and at the bottom because Cricut always places your cuts to save as much material as possible, which I think is super, super kind of them. And then I'm just going to place my labels onto my containers, and oh, how pretty are these! So now I'm going to use the 48-inch roll of Smart Label Writable vinyl and the same square design, and these will show better on my darker containers. And this is permanent vinyl, but if you ever need to change them, I'm pretty confident I could get them off with my Cricut spatula, which I use for everything. So finally, I'm going to show you how to make some super easy but extremely pretty word cut labels using the Cricut Joy. Again, measure the surface of your bin or container and make a square that same size so you can actually see the placement and sizing of how you want your label to look. Now the bins I'm using for these labels are clear, but I like working on a white background, so I'm going to change that to white. And I'm getting my text box again and typing in my word. And then I'm going to find the font I want to use, and for these I'm using Cricut's font called Annie Lou. And once I get it to the size I want, I'll hit weld at the very bottom so that the letters don't cut into each other. Now this time we're using regular white Smart Vinyl in the 48-inch roll, and once I have all of my words ready and welded, I'll hit Make It, select Without Mat. Of course, if you use regular vinyl and a mat, you'll choose that option. So then you can see it'll tell you how much vinyl you need to do all of these words. And if any of your words are too close for comfort, this is when you can move it on that mat. Then choose Smart Vinyl Permanent. Load your blade and your vinyl, and it'll scan to see if in fact you're telling the truth and you do have enough vinyl, and then just hit go and let her roll. Now I'm using white vinyl, and I always forget that that is so hard to see in a video, but I just cannot wait for you to see how pretty these are on clear containers. It reminds me of that show Get Organized with the Home Edit on Netflix. Oh my gosh, if you guys haven't seen that, you should check it out. And again, I'll have my video link to show the full reveal of my pantry organization and kitchen makeover. So once I have all of my words cut out and weeded, I'm going to use some Cricut transfer tape and put it over my word and then squeegee it really hard on both sides. Now pulling off the back sheet is a little tricky because it's super thick and very, very rigid. So you kind of have to help it along at the beginning of some of the letters. You can also bend it right before a letter and press down really hard and roll it away. Here I'm just using my Cricut weeding tool to get those started at the beginning of those letters, but just stick with it because it does get easier the more you do it. So then I'm just going to place it on my clear acrylic bin and pull off the transfer tape, and it's done. I hope this helps everyone who's been afraid of taking that cutting machine plunge, or if you just haven't taken it out of the box and you know who you are. But for me, if I can alleviate just a little bit of stress and frustration from my spirit, from an already chaotic life, why not? And then we have more time to enjoy the important things in our worlds. So have a little faith and get organized. I hope everyone has a blessed day, and remember to always be the light. Bye.